Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'll be showing you how to make a classic and traditional Puerto Rican mofongo. Mofongo is a dish that goes way back in Puerto Rican cookery. It looks complex, but it's actually very simple to make. I'll be pairing mine with some camarones in salsa criolla, which is just shrimp in a Puerto Rican Creole sauce. So let's get into it. All right, friends, so the first thing I'm going to do before I make my mofongo is make my camarones and salsa criolla. So I have here a deep pan and it's set over medium heat, and I'm just going to cook up about a quarter cup of chopped bacon. And after a couple of minutes, my bacon is nice and golden. Now my bacon is not going to go into my shrimp stew. I am simply using the bacon drippings to flavor my shrimp. So I'm going to remove my bacon from the pan and set it to the side. All right, and now that my bacon is set to the side, I'm going to begin my shrimp stew. I am going to remove a little bit of the excess bacon grease. I don't really need it that much, but I do want to keep a little bit in there for some flavor. And with that same medium-high heat, I'm going to add a little pat of butter. This is about 1 teaspoon of some salted butter. And then I'm going to add about a quarter cup of some chopped onion. And I'm simply just going to cook up my onions until they are nice and well cooked. And I'm going to set them to the side. Now I will be putting these back in later, but for now, I'm going to set them to the side because I want to cook my shrimp separately. And here I have 1 pound of deveined shrimp. These are medium shrimps, and I lightly seasoned them with a little bit of this Creole seasoning. I did about a quarter of a teaspoon. I didn't add too much, but you can also use some adobo or any other all-purpose seasoning of your choice. Then I'm simply just going to throw them into my pan and cook them until they are fully cooked through. So my shrimp is about halfway cooked. I am going to add a little extra butter, probably about a teaspoon more. As far as the butter goes, that's to your taste. You can add a little more or a little less if you like. And I'm just going to let that melt in there real quick. Then I'm going to put the lid over my pan and I'm going to let it simmer for about 2 minutes so that the shrimp can release a little bit of liquid, because that's going to serve as the broth. And after 2 minutes, that shrimp has released quite a bit of moisture. This is going to be the base of the broth. This broth right here has really good shrimp flavor. It also has some of that flavor from the seasoning that I put on my shrimp earlier. Now I'm going to throw in the onion that I cooked earlier. You can also add a bit of chopped peppers if you like. I highly suggest like red peppers or pimientos. Then I'm going to add just 1 teaspoon of some fresh homemade sofrito. I have 2 videos on that, so be sure to check it out. And then I'm eyeballing here. This is about 1.5 teaspoons of some tomato sauce. And now I'm going to add about a quarter packet of some Goya sazon. However, you can use paprika or ground annatto powder. I'm only adding a little bit of sazon. When it comes to shrimp, whenever I cook shrimp, I don't like to over season it because I do not want the shrimp flavor to be drowned out. So I'm adding everything just a bit at a time. But it's still going to taste really delicious. Then I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of water. So at this point, after you add your water, check for salt content, for seasoning content, and just adjust everything to your taste. If you want to add a little bit of fresh chopped cilantro, you can do that. That'll be really good. You can even add a little extra butter if you like. And then lastly, I'm going to add a bit of lemon juice. All right, so after I added all of my ingredients, I'm going to put the lid and just leave it at a very low simmer while I go and prepare my mofongo. Now it's time to make my mofongo. So I have here 2 very large green plantains. If yours are a bit on the smaller side, use 3 or 4. I'm simply just going to chop the ends off, slice the skin down the middle, peel, and then cut them into 1-inch pieces. I'll then fry up my plantain rounds in a good amount of vegetable oil, and I'm going to cook them on both sides until they are just golden. Alright, now my plantain rounds are perfectly fried. As you can see, they're not overly cooked, but they're not undercooked. You want them to be a good in between. Now it's time to mash up some garlic cloves. If you do not have a bilong like I do, feel free to use a garlic grinder, whatever you have. Now I'm going to be using 1 garlic clove per plantain. If you have a small plantain, you use 1 small garlic clove. If you have a large plantain, use a larger garlic clove or 2 small ones. Alright, now my garlic cloves are mashed just how I need them to be. And now I'm going to add some extra virgin olive oil. This is crucial in ensuring that my mofongo is nice and moist, because there's nothing worse than a really good tasting but a very dry mofongo. So I'm just eyeballing it, probably going to add a total of 3 tablespoons to a 1/4 cup of some extra virgin olive oil. Then I'm going to add a bit of salt, not too much, because I'm going to check for taste later on to make sure that I have enough. And I'm just going to mix everything really well. Next, I'm going to add all of that cooked chopped bacon from earlier. Mix it to combine. And then I felt like it needed a little more extra virgin olive oil, like I mentioned earlier, so I added a little more. You can even add a little bit of some cooled down melted butter along with the olive oil to give it a good flavor, whatever you like to do. I just like to stick with the olive oil. I feel like that's more than enough. But you can use, again, a combination of the olive oil and a little bit of melted cooled down butter. Alright, let's make the mofongo. So I'm going to show you 2 methods on how you can make this. I have here my bilong base that I emptied out. I put my mofongo base to the side. So I'm then going to add 2 plantain rounds, a little spoonful of that mofongo garlic base, and I'm going to use the bilong stick to mash it up really well. And I'm going to continue doing this over and over until the base of my bilong is nice and full. So this technique of making mofongo has very strong ties to Africa. It's a very old school way of making it. So the recipe itself uses African, Taino, and Spanish ingredients. It's a fusion of all 3 cultures in one dish, and it's a perfect representation of our Puerto Rican culture. Alright, now it's time for the moment of truth. It is time to remove my mofongo from the bilong. Now, if my mofongo comes out with ease, that means that I had just the right amount of oil. And it did. Look at that, it looks perfect. You can also eat the mofongo inside the bilong by simply just putting your toppings in it and just eating it with a spoon. But if you don't have a bilong at home, or you're gonna make a lot of mofongo for a lot of people, this is a very easy way of doing it. I simply just add all of my ingredients in one bowl. I use a large potato masher, and I just mash away until it's nice and combined. And this is a good method because I can taste test it a lot more easily. Then, as you saw, using a small plastic bowl, I simply put the mofongo filling in it. I shaped it with the back of a spoon, and it came out just like that. Nice and easy. And now that my mofongo is done, it is time to top it with those camarones in salsa criolla to finish it off. And that is all for today's video. So please let me know in the comment section down below if you're going to try this recipe, and if you already did, let me know how you enjoyed it. So as always, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. Also, do not forget to give this video a thumbs up. It helps my channel a ton, and to hit that notification bell because a new video will be out every week. Until next time.